Ms. Martini, what are you asking for today?
Well, Judge, we're asking for temporary use and possession of the home, and I believe that primary custody is an issue.
It is or is not?
It is. And spousal support, temporary spousal support, and child support. And also, Judge, we can deal with that, I guess, in part as part of the maybe a spousal support. But Mr. Cervantes actually cut my client off. My client is not employed, and they had a joint banking account, and he stopped depositing his check into it, which has zero income. So I don't know. I really don't know what he has in his possession in terms of cash and assets yet. I guess interim attorney's fees is an issue as well.
All right. And Mr. Gonan, what are you asking for?
I think the same thing, I guess, just the exact opposite of what she's asking for. We're also asking for exclusive use of the separate property home. That is my client's separate property. We also asking for primary custody of the children, child support, and I don't think we're actually asking for interim spousal support. So that's where we differ.
Okay. All right. So now, I think we initially had, did we have an hour or how much? Okay. So I think we had an hour and a half. So this is a lot of stuff to cover. So,
and I didn't quite realize initially that we had set up for just an hour. But the parties kind of need to get in front of you to deal with some of the friction.
okay. So keep an eye on the clock. I'll probably have to put a time limit on each of you. So let's see. All right. So thinking about 45 minutes aside. So Miss Martini, if you want to call your first witness.
Well, I would call Rachel Cervantes.
Okay.
Ms. Cervantes, could you state your name for the court?
Rachel Julia Cervantes.
And Mrs. Cervantes, where do you live?
402 Sweet Pea Court, Sealy, Texas, 77474.
And you presently are living in that home with your husband as well as the children, is that correct?
Yes.
And how is that working?
It's not that great. There's a lot of tension and anxiety. There's a lot of back and forth side comments made, the insinuations. So it's not really healthy for me or my husband or the children to really reside together at the moment.
So you're asking that you be awarded the temporary use and possession of the homestead there at 402 Sweet Pea Court?
Yes.
And you're probably not looking for that long term. We talked sort of about maybe 90 days to give you a chance to kind of land on your feet, or perhaps a little longer, but is that correct?
Yes.
Are you employed right now?
Not currently, but I have been filling out job applications, and I do have a job that has called me. We're just waiting on the background check to be done, but it's pretty promising.
Okay. And your husband is employed, is that correct?
Yes.
And you've been primarily, you've stayed at home and raised the children. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Primarily. So the job that you're talking about, which isn't definite until it's definite, but pays about $10 an hour, is that correct?
Yes, with chances for a pay raise, but of course you have to go through probationary periods.
Right. So that would be the sole extent of your income unless Mr. Cervantes provided you with some spousal support and whatever support the court may award you for attorney's fees. Is that fair?
Yes.
Now, you've been in school for some, I'll let you tell the court what you're in school for as well.
I've been in school since August of this year for to become a certified nail technician and esthetician. And those classes should end, or I should be done and be able to graduate in around February or March.
And so is it your intent that if you get another job that you'll be able to also do that at different times maybe to earn some additional money?
Yes.
You're doing what you can to get to a place where you can be semi-independent. Is that fair?
Yes.
Also, as far as moving, you don't have income right now, so I'm sure you would have difficulty, but I know you've been checking into apartments. Can you tell the court what you see that's possibly available if you had to move out?
So there is an apartment complex. It's called Cedar Cove in Sealy. It is income-based. However, there is a waiting list. And then there is another apartment that I've been looking at, but of course you have to pay the deposit on that one. It is available, but the deposit is the deciding factor on that one.
Okay. And so really and truly, you're kind of, at this point, you'd have no other place to go if you aren't able to at least temporarily stay in the house.
Correct. I have nowhere else to go.
You don't have any relatives that are in the area where you live?
No. The closest relatives I have are quite a few hours away.
Okay. And Mr. Cervantes does have family that lives in the Sealy area. Is that true?
Yes, he has cousins and aunts that live in Sealy, and then his parents live about 15 minutes up the road in Wallace, Texas.
And so are you asking that, I mean, certainly he has options if he has to temporarily leave the house. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
Okay. And he also has a job, so if he had to, he could rent an apartment, which you aren't able to do.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm going to actually ask you to look at the exhibits and see if you can identify what is P1 for me.
P1 would be the 2019 tax return information.
Okay, and does this tax return accurately reflect what your husband's income was for 2019?
Yes.
And to your knowledge, is there any reason why he could not be making as much as he made in 2019?
No, not to my knowledge.
And has he, in fact, tell the court what he does?
So he's an industrial radiographer technician. So he x-rays pipeline all over Houston, and then he was actually working out of town for the last 4 years.
Okay. And so while he worked out of town, I mean, you've been the parent who's been there.
Yes.
Has he recently, have you become aware that recently he is intentionally cutting back on his work?
Yes, I believe so, because he gets a guaranteed 40 hours at work. However, that has to be like, you have to say that you're available. When all of these proceedings started, he wasn't going to work because he said emotional distress. And then I know like a couple of days he was sick. But as far as why he hasn't gone the other times, I'm not really sure.
But that work was available to him?
Yes.
Recently, I mean, you talked about, there are 4 children of the marriage,
Mm-hmm.
right? You have a 15-year-old daughter, excuse me, there are 4 children between you and Mr. Cervantes is a more accurate statement, correct?
Yes.
And in fact, as a little background, the 2 of you just married in 2019, correct?
Yes, ma'am.
But you've had an ongoing relationship since you were how old?
Since we were 15 and 16.
Okay. And so your oldest child is how old?
She's 15.
Okay, so you have 4 children, 15-year-old. What are the ages of the other 3?
12, 9, and 2.
Okay. Additionally, there has been another child in the household too, is that correct?
Yes.
And tell the court about that child.
So that child came about from my husband, who had, I guess, a one night stand with another woman. We found out about him when he was 2 months old. He was living with a mutual friend of ours who reached out and told Ruben about him. Ruben took a DNA test and it was determined that he was Ruben's. So we went to court, him and I, because I was there every court date. And Ruben got primary custody with the biological mother getting visitation. However, she has not seen him since he was about 10 months old. And he just turned 6. I have raised him as my own since he was 2 months old up until about a month ago when Ruben was served with divorce papers and he sent him to live with his mother.
Do you feel like Ruben sent him to live with, you're talking about Ruben's mother, you're not talking about the child's mother?
Yes, Ruben's mother. He was sent to Ruben's mother, so Josiah's grandmother.
Okay. The child's name is Josiah, correct?
Yes.
And you, was there any discussion before he did that?
No.
Do you believe that he did that because he thought it was in the best interest of Josiah?
He claims that it is. However, I do not believe it's in the best interest of Josiah. He's not only being kept away from me, who has raised him his entire life, but he's being kept away from his siblings. His baby brother asked for him every day. Some of the other children do get to see him more often because they go visit their grandparents. But I was told, me and Ruben were having a discussion and we were talking about, all the things that have occurred in our entire relationship. And I told him, you believe some of the things that you've done don't still hurt. They don't still affect me. I said, they don't exist any longer. I said, but however, you do have another child with somebody else. Ruben claims that that's what made him upset. However, 2 days ago, I was told that, no, I am not Josiah's mother. I will not be his mother again. And that when he meets somebody else, that they will become Josiah's mother and help him forgive me. In turn, I informed Ruben that I will always be his mother. He will never know any different. And I will never, no matter what, turn my back on him. He will always be my child.
Just briefly, this decision that he made for him, have you been able to see Josiah since then?
I've seen him about, I believe, 3 times. 2 times were only.
Why he's not at home with you?
Do what? I'm sorry.
Has he questioned why he is not living with you and the other children now?
Yes, he asked one time why.
Objection, hearsay.
Objection sustained.
Are you concerned about Josiah and how he perceives this situation?
Yes.
Do you think your husband makes good determinations when it comes to the children versus you?
No.
So you mentioned that your husband had been working primarily out of town for the last 4 years. Is that correct?
Yes.
And when did y'all move to Sealy?
We moved to Sealy in August of 2016.
And that's because Ruben got a job there, or?
Yes, he got a job with his current employer, Diamond G, here in Houston.
Is there any reason to think that he won't continue to travel quite a bit with his job?
No, because
Objection calls for speculation.
Objection sustained.
Do you have any reason to believe, anything that you know of that would suggest that he doesn't, that he won't, has his job changed? Would he be able to stay in town to your knowledge?
No, not to my knowledge. They work all over, so.
You and Ruben had a joint bank account with Wells Fargo, correct?
Yes.
And do you have any other bank account?
No.
Is that account, does he have another bank account to your knowledge?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Is that where his paycheck always was directly deposited?
Yes.
Has something about that changed?
Yes, the last couple of weeks it had been being deposited to my knowledge, but was being taken because of overdraft fees, I believe. But the last two checks he has received, they have not been direct deposited. They have been given to him in check form.
And do you know where the proceeds of those checks have gone?
He's said that they've gone to pay this or that, but I don't really know.
So if you go out and you need to buy gas, where do you get money?
I either have to ask him for money, or the last couple of times I've had to contact my parents and ask my parents to send me money.
Are you able at the present time to make it on your own, or are you asking the court to temporarily order some spousal support for you?
Yes, temporarily, not long term, but temporarily until I can get on my feet and get where I need to be. I mean, I'm actively looking for a job, like I mentioned, the one job above, but it kind of takes a bit of time. So yes, temporarily.
Do you think even after you get that job that you're going to be able to be self-sufficient immediately at $10 an hour?
Not immediately. I believe it would probably take a couple of months afterwards to be able to, have money saved up and be able to go on from there.
Ms. Cervantes, I'm going to ask you to look at the financial information statement that you signed and that is on file in this matter.
Mm-hmm.
If I were to ask you all the questions about all the items that are listed there, would this be a shorthand rendition of what your testimony would be? This would be how you would testify, what you need and what your bills are.
Yes.
So right now you have no income. And at the moment, there's no house payment or rent, correct?
No.
The rest of those expenses you would certainly anticipate.
Yes.
And so you're asking the court, you've listed on here, you would like, in addition to the child support, you'd like total support of $3,410 a month. Is that correct, including child support and a temporary yes. Support?
Yes.
Is your husband making the house payments on the house currently?
Currently, the house is in a forbearance program due to the pandemic. So that's what I'm aware of. So no, currently there's no payment being made.
So if he lists that on his financial information statement, he in fact is not making those payments, correct?
Correct.
And there's also, he lists a car payment. So to your knowledge, is he making that car payment, that vehicle payment?
Not to my knowledge on the Yukon. To my knowledge, the Yukon was also on a forbearance program, and I was told that he was going to renew that forbearance program. So to my knowledge, no.
And so based on the income that he has available to him and the fact that he's not really paying very many bills, you believe that certainly this amount that you're asking for is fair and reasonable?
Yes.
And is that amount really necessary in order for you to just meet your minimum necessary monthly expenses?
Yes.
If the court were to allow you to stay in the house for 90 days with the children, of course, there is no house payment there, but those other expenses would be there as well if you were to pay the utilities and so forth.
Yes.
The tuition that you list, you do pay monthly tuition of $300 a month. Is that correct?
Yes.
And that's for the, not cosmetology, but the school that you're enrolled in.
Yes.
All right. Well, when you talked about, additionally, you've had to borrow, how did you pay your initial retainer to your lawyer?
The initial retainer to my lawyer was paid by my sister.
Okay, and so that's money that at some point in time you have to pay back. Is that a fair statement?
Yes.
So in light of the fact that Mr. Cervantes has cut off your access to any funds, and are you asking that he in fact pay interim legal fees in order for you to continue in this process, and perhaps to also pay back your sister?
Yes.
So at this time, your sister loaned you the $5,000. Is that correct?
Yes, she did.
And that was an initial retainer, but you would expect certainly more than that. At the way things are going right now, it's going to be some additional amount in order to, as long as this is contested custody. Is that correct?
Yes.
And so are you asking the court order Mr. Cervantes to pay $7,500 in interim legal fees for you?
Yes.
Mr. Cervantes has a 401k, is that correct?
Yes, he does.
And so possibly he could borrow money from his 401k as one source in any event to pay those fees, correct?
Yes.
Does he have credit cards?
Yes, he does.
And he also has been collecting his paycheck this month and not paying any bills, correct?
Yes.
When you talk about the friction in the household, has there become some amount of friction with the older children?
Yes, there has. They've been brought into arguments that children should not have been brought into. They've been told things that children should not have been told. So it gets kind of in a gray area. When Ruben is not in the home, they're fine with me. They talk to me fine. They're okay. But when he is in the home or comes back around, they kind of go to their rooms. They don't really speak to me. If they do speak to me, they kind of talk to me with an attitude. So it's just been kind of very tense in the home.
And when you say that the children have been brought into things that you believe they shouldn't have, are you talking about Mr. Cervantes bringing them into that?
Yes, I was told that when all of these proceedings started, that he was upset and went into
Objection,
our
hearsay.
daughter's room and spoke. I was told from him.
Objection, hearsay.
Well, let's find out who made the statements.
Who told you this, Mr. Cervantes?
Ruben told me that he went into our daughter's room when this all started and spoke to her, and she asked him why he was upset, and he told her, because your mother has found somebody else. I was also told by Ruben that that he's not sure how the children found out, but there was things posted on social media about me. So they could have seen it from someone or somewhere. There's also side remarks that are made if I try to go to the store by myself or go take care of something that I need to take care of, and the children ask me to go, and I tell them, I think you should stay here with your dad. He'll make like a little smirk, or he'll just kind of make like a little laugh and be like, oh, you can't go. And he'll say, oh, you went to go see somebody. And a couple of times he's made remarks like, oh, well, I'm sorry, I'm not so-and-so. So that's what I mean by they were brought into things they never should have been brought into.
And are you concerned if Mr. Cervantes, number one, isn't enjoined from continuing to discuss these matters in front of the kids, but also if he has primary custody, that he's going to continue to do these things that's going to continue to maybe to alienate your children from you?
Yes.
Judge, I'm going through this as fast as I can, and I kind of think I hope I'm hitting on the, let me see. Okay, in addition to P1, let me ask you, you recognize what P1 is. I've provided a copy to opposing counsel, and I would offer P1 as into evidence as our exhibit.
Any objection to petitioners 1?
P1 is 26 pages, a lot of that being hearsay that I don't, not certified or anything along those sense. I am objecting to, I mean, kind of bifurcated with what looks like a mortgage statement. That's kind of confusing me, a mortgage interest statement.
I believe those are exhibits, Judge, that are attached to the mortgage statement is one of the things that went with the tax return.
It's an email from Rachel Galvan, Rachel Juliet iCloud to Jacqueline Carr.
At H&R Block?
Jacqueline. Yeah, I guess it is.
Well, P1 will be admitted.
Trying to get a okay.
Additionally, if you look at first, I'm going to do these kind of quickly, but if you look at P2 and you will look at P3 and you will look at P4 and P5, can you identify those for the court?
These are all, so P2 is our daughter Malaysia's progress report. P3 is her registration forms. P4 is her class schedule that she picked out. P5 is Josiah's transportation form along with Kyra's transportation form. And P6 is a parent-teacher conference for Kyra, our other daughter. And these are all records from the school that show that I'm the main parent who deals with all their schooling and all their paperwork.
And so when you look at these, are you the parent that signed each of these and returned them to the school?
Yes.
Are these true and correct copies of school records that you got?
Yes.
For children? And that you completed and submitted to the school?
Yes.
I offer P1 through P5 into evidence.
Yeah, the same objection that these are objecting to these as hearsay. There's not certified copies and issues with authentication with them as well.
Yeah, since these are records from the school, we'd need a business record affidavit or something. So that objection is sustained.
And Your Honor, I believe some of these were actually, maybe not. We actually had some certified from the high school, but maybe that's not what. Okay, is it a fair statement that you are the one who is involved with the children's school and their schoolwork?
Yes.
Has your husband had issues with, had legal issues?
Yes, he has.
Is he currently on probation?
Yes, he is.
And where is that probation out of?
It's out of Eastland County.
And are there a couple of felony convictions that you believe are the basis that are the basis for that probation?
Yes.
Sorry, yeah. And could you tell the court just briefly about each one of those charges? I'm
not for certain that the felony assault charge is one of them, but I know that there is a felony drug charge as to why he's on probation.
The felony assault, who did he assault?
Me.
And did it also include,
Objecting facts not into evidence. Is this a judgment that she's talking about on the felony assault?
yes,
Is there a charge on it there?
I'm sorry?
I mean, you're talking about a felony assault charge. Can we get a time frame of when this occurred?
Is he currently on probation for these?
I'm not sure on the felony assault charge, but for the drug charges, yes.
The drug charge and the felony assault were in approximately the same time frame.
I think the felony assault charge happened a little before the felony drug charges.
Approximately when?
Yes.
Objection non-responsive. She asked when, and I didn't hear an answer there.
Is there any type of time frame that you can give on when the assault or the drug charge happened?
So I believe they happened within about a year, not even a year. It was probably about 4 or 5 months of each other.
But when? Like what year did it happen?
In 2013.
Were there other substantial, though, criminal charges and convictions of Mr. Cervantes and Eastland?
Yeah, so he has the assault charge, the drug charges, and then he has other charges of possession, manufacturing, delivering, those type of charges, criminal trespassing.
Are you concerned that with the drug charges that whether or not Mr. Cervantes may still have some of those issues?
Do what? I'm sorry.
Do you have concerns that Mr. Cervantes may still be using or selling drugs?
Not that he's using or selling drugs, but possibly that he still uses alcohol, yes.
Okay, so you don't believe that he's using drugs?
No, not at the current time.
All right. Okay, so you've asked the court to award you primary possession, do the child support that we're asking for based on what we believe is his earning capacity based on his 2019 income and the fact that it's the same job. Is that correct?
Yes.
You're asking for some interim attorney's fees because you have no access to the community funds.
Yes.
And you're asking for some spousal support as we requested in your financial information statement.
Yes.
Are you also asking for some temporary injunctions that prohibit the parties from discussing anything related to your allegations of marital issues or this case? Are you asking that neither party be able to not to discuss this, but also to even, as you described, sidebar remarks or to make any reference to anything that relates to the marriage difficulties? Would you would actually ask that the court do what can be done to encourage the parties to keep these children out of the fights between the two of you?
Yes.
Your Honor, I pass the witness.
Okay, I'll tell you what, before going to Mr. Gonan, so I got an amount that you're asking for the support. What amount were you asking for child support?
I believe we did calculations, Judge, on our, on the financial information statement we filed.
And I don't see that, so.
Okay, I apologize, Your Honor. I believe it's 2,000. Oh, it's wait, I'm sorry. 2,100, 2,110 is the amount we calculated for child support. $1,110.
And Ms. Cervantes, you talked about there was one apartment at Cedar Cove and then another apartment that you were looking at. What's the other apartment?
The other apartment is, it's owned by K&G Properties. It's on Gunnison Street. And that one is available now. It's just, being able to pay the deposit on it.
How much is the deposit?
$729.
Judge, I'm concerned. I mean, she says it's available, but I'm concerned because she's not working yet.
And then how much is the monthly rent for that apartment?
It would be $729.
All right, so Mr. Gonan, do you have any questions for Ms. Cervantes?
I'm going to reserve my question for her for my case in chief when I have that opportunity.
All right, so Ms. Martini, anybody else? You got about 5 minutes left.
Judge, I don't have any other witnesses to call at this time.
So Mr. Gonan, you can call your first witness.
And just to clarify, gone on with an A, but it's not a big deal. I know it's a tough one to pronounce. Okay. My first witness is going to be Ruben Servantes.
Right. You may proceed.
Okay. There's a couple of things that I want to cover, but first, I guess the first question I want to cover is currently, what is the amount of money that's in your 401k?
The 401k, I want to say it's around 2,000. I haven't checked at it lately, but I want to say it's around 2,000, give or take.
There used to be more money in your 401k. Is that correct?
Correct.
But what happened with that money that was in there initially?
Originally, so back in May, things started to slow down with my job due to the coronavirus and due to the elections. A lot of the clients that we work for, it's pipeline, it's oil field. So a lot of the things have shifted, like people are canceling projects left and right. Well, we got in a tight space, so I drew out, it was 25,000 that I drew out. And we opened up another bank account, which was not mentioned. It's a Austin County State Bank, and that one is also withdrawn over $800. A lot of that money went to, my cousin was murdered here in Austin County. And I helped out a very, very lot with his funeral. There's a lot of witnesses for that. There's some paper trail because I did provide some checks to my uncle. Paid mortgage, cars, we kind of got caught up on everything. And a lot of the other stuff was just, it was just spent on the both of us and the children.
Rachel had access to that bank account where the 401k money went into. Is that correct?
Correct. She had her own card, everything.
And was it just you spending the money, or was she allowed to spend the money out of that account as well?
No, she was allowed to as well. The bank even told her if she wanted to come and grab everything out, she can do it. I mean.
But she was aware the money was in there, and she's aware that there's less money in 401k right now than it was then.
Yes, correct.
Have you discussed that with her in the past about how there isn't that much money left in the 401k?
Yes, actually, because I had to take another withdrawal out due to our work slowing down. And like I said, oil field, due to our work slowing down, I had to do another withdrawal because on November 14th, I had a quinceañera for my daughter, and I put a lot of money into it. I drew out another $3,000 to be able to pay for her big day, and it's just a tradition. And I felt like I had to do whatever is possible to do that for her due to our work slowing down. I didn't have enough money. So I withdrew another $3,000 to be able to do that for my daughter. And she knows what's, that was taken out as well. So she should know there's not very much in there at all.
Now, I want to talk about your work slowing down a little bit. Last year, you did make a good chunk of change, is what it shows in the tax return. You're not disputing that, right?
No, not at all.
What has changed since last year with your work?
Due to the elections, and this, you can talk to any of the guys we work for. We work for Oryx Midstream Services, Black Line Pipeline. We work for a lot of those guys. It's all oil field, but due to the elections, and I'm not talking about any presidential, our president is our president, but, a lot of people want to go green, and our work has tremendously slowed down, and that's documented. My job can tell you that. I mean, it's there, there's no dispute about it. And when I say slowed down, that means we went from working, let's say 60 hours a week out of town to working 30, 40 hours a week out of town. And even in town as well, here in Houston, if you look at my last 3 paycheck stubs that I submitted, it wasn't because I didn't want to go to work. It was because our work is literally, it's declining right now. And it does this every year. Rachel should know this because she's been with me for 4 years that I've been in the industry. Every year, around holidays, we get very slow. But due to the coronavirus and the elections, it tremendously slowed down a lot.
Now, well, how much were you making on average paycheck last year?
Last year on the average paycheck, I was probably bringing home a good $2,000.
And how often were you get per week? How much are you making now on your average paycheck?
Oh, anywhere from, it differs, anywhere from about 400 to about 900.
Now we have as exhibit, let me pull that up. I believe on our list, it's called R1, which is a copy of your financial information statement. And you were the one that drafted the information, and that was in this financial information statement.
Yes.
Is that correct? And everything in there is accurate, as you would say. This is an accurate shorthand rendition of what your financial status is as of right now.
Yes, I would say the only thing is I believe I went off of the net pay, off of the 48-hour check stuff that I had put on there. I went off of that one and did a rough draft from what it was, but I didn't put before taxes. I did. How do you do it? No, I put before taxes, not after.
I understand. And attached to that financial information statement are your last 3 paycheck stubs. Is that correct?
Yes.
And again, as I said, you would say this is an accurate shorthand rendition of what your current financial status is. Is that correct?
Correct.
I'd like to admit respondents 1, R1, the financial information statements.
Any objection to respondents 1?
Not as a shorthand rendition, no, Your Honor.
I can't hear what you said.
No, not as a shorthand rendition.
Okay, so respondents 1 is admitted.
Okay. Now, your house, there was talks about your house being in forbearance with the mortgages. Is that accurate?
Yes, it is.
And how long has it been in forbearance for?
About 3 months, roughly about 3 months.
And just to clarify, this house that we're talking about here, this is a house that you purchased before you and Rachel were married. Is that correct?
Correct.
How long before did you purchase this house?
I purchased it January 1st, 2019. We got married in July 6th, 9th.
Okay. So with regards to your monthly expenses, Ms. Cervantes there testified that both of the cars are in forbearance. Is that accurate?
No, the Yukon is not in forbearance, and neither was the Camaro. The Yukon was for a 6-month period. Due to our work slowing down, I couldn't make those payments, just like the house, but the house, I made it just to make it. But the Yukon was in forbearance, but the Camaro was never in forbearance at all.
She also mentioned something along the lines that you're guaranteed 40 hours each week, but
Yes.
You're not currently working. Are you guaranteed 40 hours each week?
I am guaranteed a 40 unless something comes up. So she was true right there. And our boss here lately has taken that away from not just me, but from a lot of other technicians as well. Only technicians are guaranteed the 40 hours. But the last week I had to report to probation one day. So that was taken away. I was sick for 2 days. They didn't want me to come back until I got a COVID test. So that took away a 40. Before that, it was we didn't have any work. And like I said, he's been taking it away, not just from me, but from everybody. So it's not set in stone. We don't have a contract that we're going to get 40 automatically. It's, you know, it can come and go at any time, you know.
She mentioned that you're not doing 40 hours a week because of emotional issues or something along those lines. Is that accurate?
In October, I will say yes. I was very emotional about the things that had happened in October. So I was out of town and I came back into town when I found out about my kids being left alone. I came home the very next day, and yes, I was under some emotional stress, and I did ask for time off from my job. They can clarify that. I was just, you know, I was emotional.
What happened in October?
October 13th, she turned off the security camera at 10 o'clock at night. I woke up to a text message from my daughter, the 15-year-old, saying that my son was crying at her door at 3 o'clock in the morning and they couldn't find their mother. And they went outside, and the first place they know to go is to the garage. So she told me, my 15-year-old, that they went to the garage and she was not there. Her phone was left on the table and they couldn't find her at 3 o'clock in the morning.
So what did you end up doing?
When I woke up at 5 o'clock in the morning, I called her. I called my daughter. I said, "Hey, what happened? Are you guys okay? Where is she at?" And she came in, and my daughter told me that her mother told her not to tell me that she was gone. And
Objection to hearsay.
Objection sustained.
What did you do next after getting the text message from your daughter?
I told my boss out of town that I had to come home for a little bit.
And when you came home, did you ask Rachel what was going on?
Yes.
What did she tell you?
She told me that was the month we lost the baby, which is true. And she told me she was cleaning the garage.
She told you she was cleaning the garage at 3 o'clock in the morning?
Yes.
And what was going on with the video? You said you have a video recording.
Yes, she turned off the camera at 10 o'clock at night. And I asked her why. She said because it needed to be charged. But when I went through my emails, because I get a notification when the battery needs to be charged, there was no record of it needing to be charged.
Non-responsive. Judge, I would ask that the witness be instructed to not continue to after an objection's been made.
Okay.
I didn't hear your objection.
Yeah, I couldn't hear the objection, but look, we need to keep rolling. So let's go ahead and hear the story.
Okay. So she told you that the video camera was beeping, or what did she tell you that the video camera was doing?
She said that it needed to be charged.
But you said you get alerts when these things happen. Is that accurate?
Correct. And I can provide that information as well.
So what do you believe she was doing?
I believe she was cheating on me.
And why do you think that?
Because of the things that kind of led up to it.
What do you mean? What things that led up to it?
Well, back in September when she started school, she kind of started acting a little different, and I brought it to her attention, and she said there was nobody else, and this and that, and she just, I feel like that's what she was doing that night. And then what happened after that is what kind of clarified it for me. I mean, who leaves their children at 3 o'clock in the morning, 2-year-old in the bed?
So at that point, the only people that were her home was your 15-year-old daughter, your other daughter, 12-year-old daughter, the 9-year-old. And
the 9-year-old, I don't believe was here. I wasn't here. I was out of town. I don't believe she was here, or my son, because my son and my 9-year-old, my other son, they stay with their grandma a lot. And anybody can tell you that they always stayed with grandma a lot.
Okay. But the 2-year-old was home.
The 2-year-old was home and he was in the room by himself.
Have you talked to Ms. Cervantes about her cheating?
Yes, I have.
Has she admitted to cheating?
Yes, she has.
When did she admit to cheating on you?
On the cheating, it was November 7th, I believe. That's what I don't remember which one we have, R2, R3, but it was no, it was not November 7th that she admitted. It was November 25th, somewhere around there. I don't remember which recordings we have on what, but I do have them written down.
Yeah. Now you said the recordings. You made a recording of this conversation of her admitting that she was cheating on.
Correct.
And again, that is in evidence. I want you to take a look at R6, as I believe the recording that you're talking about. Now, R6, is that a recording that you made?
Yes.
And is that a recording that you were a part of the conversation of?
Yes.
What did you use to make that recording?
It was my phone.
And it was your phone. And who did you make that recording? Who was involved in that conversation?
Me and Rachel.
Now you've listened to this recording afterwards. Do you recognize the voices in the recordings?
Yeah. If it's the same one that I'm thinking of, I didn't write down the notations. I just wrote down the dates of the incidents. November 9th, I just have as home.
That just answer my. Do you recognize the voices in the recordings?
Yes.
That was made. And who are the voices in that recording?
Myself and Rachel.
And is the recording in R6 fair and accurate representation of the recording that was made that day between you and Rachel?
Yes.
Your Honor, I'd like to move to publish and admit R6, the recording between the Ms. Rachel and Rubens.
Any objection to respondent 6?
Judge, if I could, I would just like to have a statement on whether or not that's a full and complete.
Why don't you take him on voir dire and ask?
Mr. Cervantes, the recording that you submitted to the court, it is a certain time frame. Was there conversation going on leading up to what you've given to the court?
On this one, I'm not too particular. I know on the November 7th recordings there was.
Unresponsive, we're talking about this particular recording.
I don't think so. I don't remember exactly which one it is. I don't have it notated. If it's the cheating one, then that was it, the cheating.
So there was no prior recording, no prior conversation to that? No. And what about afterwards?
Afterwards, no. I turned it off. I left.
Okay, no objections to R6, Judge.
Okay, so respondent 6 is admitted.
Can I publish and play the audio?
Is that what's included in?
It should be, in that envelope with my nice handwriting, yes.
Okay. Do we want to take the time? Is there something else that's going to be important for me to listen to? So I don't think we need to take the time to listen to it now.
Okay, I understand that. Well, I understand we're limited in time. We have 30 minutes left. With regards to your children's behavior around Rachel changing since the incident, what is your understanding of why their behavior has changed?
Because just the fact that what she's done, and they heard the arguments. My oldest daughter heard the arguments, and when she asked me, I was honest with her, and I did tell her, my oldest daughter. The other ones, they didn't know anything about it. I don't know if my daughter maybe would have told them, but for a fact, I did tell my 15-year-old when she asked me, why are you arguing about cheating? What happened? I told her specifically, and I just told her, I said, look, we're going through some things, and I do believe what Rachel said, it was correct. I did tell her, yes, I believe your mother's found somebody else. And I'm not going to lie to my daughter. She heard everything. Why would I turn around and lie to her?
And I just want to get a time frame of this. Was this before the divorce petition was filed?
Yes.
So at that point, there weren't any type of injunctions in place of discussing litigation with the child. Is that correct?
Yes.
Your daughter, you said your daughter came up. She had heard the argument. Was the argument happening between you guys at the home?
Yes, inside the room.
You mentioned that your children have heard some things. What are some other things that your children have heard Rachel said that you believe has disturbed them?
But I'm going to object. I'm going to take him on board, Dyer, because it sounds like to me we're talking about hearsay.
And I couldn't hear what you said.
I don't understand what's going on. I apologize. I said I'm going to object, or I need to take him on board, Dyer, because what he is going into, I believe, is clearly hearsay.
I'm just clarifying. I'm asking questions of things that he has heard Rachel say in front of the children that when he has been around is what I'm clarifying that might lead to the children being disturbed. I'm talking about Rachel's statements.
Okay. All right.
Right here.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Donna.
What are some of the things that Rachel has said around the children that has disturbed you?
She has said that she wanted to commit suicide numerous times. One time in front of another child that was not ours. It's my children's cousins. She has said that numerous times.
And the children have heard this?
Yes.
And they were in your presence? What does she do after she threatens to commit suicide in front of your children?
One time she hugged.
I think she's objecting. I think Catherine, Miss Martini is objecting. Hold on a second, Ruben.
I couldn't hear the objection.
I'm sorry.
I can't hear what you're saying.
I don't understand, Judge. I don't know. My volume is supposed to be turned all the way up. You don't hear me well?
I can hear you right now.
Okay, I'll yell into it. I apologize. Was objecting to, and now I've lost my train of thought. I was objecting to, I'm sorry. He's, go ahead with the question and let me, I'm sorry. Could you repeat your question?
Let me see if I can find my train of thought right there too. Give me a second. It was when she has made these threats of suicide, what has she done? What physical acts has she done with the kids afterwards? Like, what does she do after she threatened suicide? Was my question.
Can I answer?
Yes.
Okay. She hugged my son and gave him a kiss, and she hugged my daughter, my 12-year-old, and hugged her tight, gave her a kiss, and she left. And my daughter was very worried that day.
And when you say your daughter, you have two daughters. So which one?
Yeah, Liliana, she's 12 years old.
Okay. And this was an argument that was both of you guys were participating in, right?
Yeah, sort of. I mean, it wasn't an argument. She takes everything that I say and says it turns into an argument, and it's just like she said, the tension is there.
What exactly led her to, in that conversation, what exactly led her to say she wanted to kill herself? What was that argument about that day?
That argument was about her getting a job and her declining jobs. I did voice my opinion. I told her I feel like, you can do it. You've been offered jobs, and she just said she's never good enough. And then she said she would kill herself. And then if you want to know about the other times, it was more of about the children, where she keeps saying that I'm telling them things and I'm putting things in their heads. And she says it in front of the children every single time.
Did you ever make a recording of her making these suicidal remarks?
Yes, I
to
did.
you with the children around? That's going to be, with regards to R9, I believe is what we have recordings on her making a suicidal remark. Just to ask, how was that recording made?
Via phone as well.
And you made the recording?
Yes.
You were part of the conversation with her when this recording was being made.
Yes.
You listened to this recording beforehand, and you recognized the voices on this recording.
Yes.
Was the video altered in any manner? I mean, I'm sorry, not video. Was the audio recording altered in any manner?
No.
Would you say that's a fair and accurate depiction of the conversation that was held and the audio recording that was held?
Yes.
Did you shorten or lengthen or cut any parts of the conversation in that audio recording on R9? In regards to suicide?
No. December 13th, no.
I'd like to admit R9, the suicide remarks, for the judge to review. Not to publish.
Any objection to respondents 9?
I mean, I know that the respondent testified that there was no other part to that, but this is a very short snippet that just seems like it was just cut right into a couple of sentences with no context, no before or after. So, you know, I mean, he says that was the whole conversation, but it just seems odd that he caught that snippet and nothing else. So,
Respondents 9 will be admitted.
Okay. Now, you were asking the court to name you the primary conservator, right?
Correct.
Why is that?
For the fact of the well-being of the children. I mean, what they're hearing is not right. What they're hearing is shouldn't be never said around them, because my daughter actually has also had thoughts of suicide, my 9-year-old.
And when your daughter is this an issue that's been addressed in school or counseling or anything like that?
I have addressed it with her mother, with Rachel. I did tell Rachel the reasoning behind that. Rachel told me she spoke to Kyra, and I've never asked Kyra again because she never brought it up again. But the reasoning behind it was, she said, because her mother felt like she made her feel she wasn't good enough ever. And I did speak to Rachel about that.
Okay. And what was Rachel's response on that?
That she did speak to her.
Now, prior to this relationship that she seems to be starting with somebody else, did you have a problem with her being the primary caretaker?
Never. I mean, I had a little bit of doubts, but not until my children told me what was going on. Prior to this, no. When I got home and my children started telling me all sorts of things, that's when I started having a problem.
And you believe the children, you know, especially the older ones, have a choice in who they want to be the primary magic conservator. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Are you requesting the court to interview the children so they can, mainly the older ones that are over the age of 12, so they can get their voices heard in court as well with who they want to be the primary magic conservator?
Yes, sir. I'd love for that.
Have the children indicated to you that they want to talk to the judge and talk to the court?
We haven't really discussed it. I was waiting to see what's going to happen before I bring them into that sort of conversation. But they have said, you know, if anything happens, we want to stay with you, Dad. I mean, that's that's what they've told me. That's, you know, but I haven't told them anything about. They know we're about to go through a divorce, but I haven't spoken to them about speaking to a judge or nothing like that.
And you're requesting to stay in your house, basically.
Yes.
What do you think Rachel should do while you stay in the house?
Get a job, continue her schooling. If she needs help getting that deposit, I'll help her with that deposit. You know, I mean, and maybe do some counseling onto why she has those certain thoughts about killing herself. And maybe we all do counseling with the children.
Mm-hmm. As far as work, she's mentioned in her testimony that she is potentially getting a job soon. Have you heard of any other job offers that she's gotten in the past recently?
Yeah, she did decline a job from Katie Veranda House due to the hours. That's what she told me.
So she had an opportunity to get a job sooner than right now, but she declined that job. Is that accurate?
Correct.
That's the current job that I'm trying to get.
Objection, Your Honor.
Objection sustained.
Now, you do have relatives that do live nearby. That you're not
Correct.
disputing, right?
Mhm.
Okay. With regards to those relatives, what are your concerns if you have to live with them?
I would say with my mother and father, my grandmother lives there as well. She's 84. She has a lot of health problems. I'm considered an essential worker. So maybe possibly I worry about myself getting COVID, even my kids. I wear my mask. I do what I'm supposed to do. But as far as that, my dad as well, he has diabetes. He just had a stroke 3 weeks ago. No, November 14th is when he had his stroke. Just my concerns would be, my mom's got a lot on her plate already, and then for me to go over there and bombard them and family, all my family has a lot of kids,
I understand. And I want to talk a little bit about your wife stated that you were convicted of an assault. Is that true?
No, I was not. None of my charges are convictions.
Well, what charges? What's the recent charge that you're currently on probation for?
I am currently on probation for the manufacturing with intent to deliver, engaging in organized criminal activity, possession of a controlled substance, and I believe I am done with the assault.
When was that from?
2013 was the assault, and 24 May. It was May. No, January, March, April. Yeah, May 14th, 2014 was all the other ones. They were all at once.
And the 2014. What has happened since that 2014 charge with you?
I've been flying good. I've flown a straight arrow. My probation officer's can vouch for that. Been in no trouble. It's been 6 years, no trouble whatsoever. I'm just nothing's happened at all. Passed my UAs. Everything.
You've been drug tested pretty regularly since then?
Oh yes, even at my job.
How often do you get drug tested?
From probation, it's random. I want to say once every 6 months, maybe. And with work, it's random as well. I just took one 3 days ago, blood and alcohol non-DOT test.
So you got to admit those are some hefty charges that you had that you're on probation for. What has changed with you since then? Since the time that you served, and those convictions or those charges that you got?
I entered a Safe P program, what it's called, and just seeing my kids go to visit me on the weekends hurt me very, very much. I told them I would never put them through that again, and I'm a man of my word. I'm going to stick to that. I changed because of my children, and honestly because of my wife as well. But I'm still going to fly that straight path. I made a promise to my children, and I intend to keep that. Besides that lifestyle, I know what comes with it. I got a little glimpse of it. I got a little taste of it, and I no longer want that.
And again, you haven't had any issues with the law since then? Not even speeding tickets, anything along those lines?
I did have a few issues with Rachel and I where, our arguments, every time we would argue, I would call the police. One time she slammed my hand in the door. Paramedics were called out, and, they attended me and told me I had a broken hand.
When did that happen?
That was sometime in November. I can't give an exact date, but I know it was in November.
In that, were there any charges filed against you?
No charges filed against me.
But
November of which year?
This year.
Okay. So what happened with that incident? You said she slammed the door in your hand. What led to that?
Yes, that was the day that I found out about the recordings, the audio recordings of her and another guy inside of my vehicle.
I need to object seriously to this. There is reference being made to recordings that were made in violation of the federal wiretapping and state wiretapping laws. And
The objection sustained.
Can I just actually, can we get a little bit into that about wiretapping laws and things along those lines, Your Honor? I don't think there's any violations. I know we got a short amount of time.
Well, let's move on to something else.
Okay. Hold on. I think I lost my client there for a second. Oh, there.
Yeah, I was getting a call. It was my daughter.
No, not a problem. So you currently work as much as you can. If you need help with the children, do you have help with the children if you need it?
Yes, I do.
And what does that help?
My mother is always willing to help. Also, like Rachel mentioned, I do have cousins. They do have their own kids as well, but my family has always offered to help. I mean, it's not an issue. If they needed to be taken to and from school, my mother already takes one of them, she takes two of them, Kyra and Josiah.
And what is your current work schedule?
My current work schedule? It just differs. It's Monday. Right now it's Monday through Friday. Sometimes we will have a day off in between just because work is so slow.
And what time to what time?
I go in about 5 o'clock in the morning, getting off around, it differs. Sometimes I get off at noon. Sometimes I'll get off late, about 6 o'clock. It differs. But if I needed to be off at a certain time, I can be off.
With regards to what's your children's schedule right now? Are they currently doing in-person school or are they doing distance learning?
A few of them, only one of them is doing remote learning. I wish it was more of them due to the rise in COVID cases, but that's something I would have to discuss with mother. All of the rest of them are in school attendance, but Sealy ISD has had a lot of positive cases here recently, which is why they shut down a day before they were supposed to try to get everything cleaned up.
And I kind of want to go back into your FIS. She's requesting, I think, $2,100 in child support, and if I pull up her FIS, another, I think, $1,300 in spousal support, which is equaling to about $3,400 a month. Is that with your current salary? Is that something that you can afford to pay?
Not at all. There's no way.
At the end of the month, how much money are you left with after the expenses that you have?
Nothing, because I have my Yukon that started back up. I need to make that payment. Also have a loan, a World Finance loan, which is where a lot of the money goes to. So it'd be nothing. Literally be nothing.
What is the World Finance loan that you have?
It was to help build my credit. And I have,
how much is that?
It's $285 a month, but it was behind as well. Like I said, due to work, we got slow. Everything kind of went behind once the election started.
Mm-hmm. Currently, okay. So I just want to get a better understanding of how much you make a month. Let's just quick numbers on how much do you make weekly?
Weekly, about $900 on a 40 guarantee. That's what I'm bringing home, about $900.
And with that, that's your net though. Is that correct?
Yes, that's what I'm bringing home. That's bring
home $900. Out of the what you're making, are you the one that's covering the health insurance for the children in the family?
Yes.
Okay. How much does health insurance cost you monthly for your family?
I'm not very good at math, but it's $179 a week. That's health, dental, and vision.
And who and all is covered by that insurance?
All of the children and myself.
Okay. How much are your So let's see, 900. How much are your monthly utilities?
I would have to write all that down. Rachel used to handle everything for me. So, I mean, it's just a little, we got 150 on electricity. We got 89 on internet. Water is another 150, water and gas.
Mm-hmm.
What else? I want to say that's it on utilities, utility wise. Maybe, I don't know if our phones are included in that as well. That's another 100.
Okay. What happened with the joint bank account that she testified you took her off of, or you're not depositing your checks into anymore?
Yeah, so the joint bank, with the joint bank account, remember how I told you guys that my work got slow? So we never took off, including Rachel. She had Amazon Prime, she had Hulu, a few other things that were being taken out consistently out of the account. So every time they try to take it out of the account, there was no money in there to begin with. And this has been for about 2 months now. So it's been behind, and it's currently right now negative $700, the Wells Fargo. And if I were to deposit my check into that, of course, I'd have nothing to be able to feed my children with. You know, that's what happened with that joint bank account. I did request for my job to give me paper checks just until I can pay off that debt little by little. I spoke to Wells Fargo. They're giving me until March to take care of that debt. Everything has been, all the payments have been stopped. So everything will be paid cash now.
You said there was another bank account that you guys had where you put your Austin something or other. What's the
Austin
balance
County
inside
State
that bank?
It's a negative 800.
And okay, so you have negative 800. Are there any other bank accounts anywhere else?
None.
Okay. How long will the forbearance go for on your house?
It will go to, the thing is, if I don't make payments, even partial payments, it's going to add up and it's going to stack up, become a big lump sum. So, I mean, it can go up to a year, they said. Of course, I want to start making those payments as soon as possible. It's just so hard right now with all the bills that we have.
What are some of the other bills that you have beside your house?
An RV, which currently my cousin has, to help me out pay with that. Because when I was working out of town, I was living in the RV. So I had, once all this happened, I had to come in town, come back. I have the RV, I have the Camaro, the Yukon. That's it. Financially, I believe that's all of it.
How much is the RV payment each month?
The RV is $399.
The Yukon,
Plus insurance is $100 on the insurance for the RV.
Okay. And how much is the Yukon?
The Yukon is $570, but I always give them $600 even.
And the Camaro?
The Camaro is $285.37.
Okay.
And the insurance on those two, you're looking, and is about $300.
Okay. Do you have any other credit cards out there?
Yes, we do have a TD-ECU credit card. I have a Wells Fargo credit card and a Best Buy credit card, and all of those are overdrawn.
How much do you owe on the TD-ECU credit card?
$2,160, I believe.
And
that's in both of our names.
What's the limit on the TD-ECU?
$2,000.
Your Best Buy credit card is a store card, so that's not as relevant. What about Wells Fargo? What's the limit on the Wells Fargo?
$600.
And how much do you owe? What's the balance of the debt on that?
$720, I believe.
Okay.
But if I can claim back my 5 minutes, I'm still hoping to have 5 minutes for a little bit of price.
I mean, Since we're getting close to it, I can pass the witness right now. So
All right, and let me ask a couple questions then. Like I said, you probably have less than 5 minutes, but so Mr. Cervantes, what do you do to care for Ruben, the 2-year-old?
For Ruben, I'm there for him, Your Honor. I'm there for him physically. That's all I can do as a father.
I'll tell you what, who gets him up in the morning and feeds him?
When I'm home, I do. When I'm not at work, I do.
Okay, and now you said that you have to leave at 5 a.m. So if you
Yes.
leave at 5 a.m., how are the kids? The kids are in school. How are they going to get ready for school?
Grandmother, she takes the other ones. So
Does the grandmother come to your house, or do the kids stay with your grandmother?
yes, sir. Sometimes they'll stay over there, and sometimes she'll come here.
So the grandmother potentially comes to your house at 5 a.m. to take care of the kids?
Oh, no, Your Honor. She doesn't come at 5 a.m., but she can. I misunderstood you, Your Honor. I'm sorry.
Okay.
She comes to bring the other ones to school.
Okay, but like I said, if you have the kids and you have to leave at 5 a.m., what's going to happen to the kids in the morning?
My mother would come at 5 a.m. and, take care of them, get them ready for school, make sure they're up in time, get them to school, and sit with my son until I get off of work. And so really sit with all of them, but my son does have a place to go just in case,
All right, so Ms. Martini, I'll give you about 2 minutes.
Okay, I would ask Mr. Cervantes, number one, you said you get off.
And I can barely hear you.
Okay, you talked about the time you get home from work. Is it true that this week, in fact, you were at a place in Pearland and you got home about 11:30 that night from work?
Yes, ma'am. I went in late that day.
You
Because-
didn't go at 5 a.m. that day?
No, ma'am.
And Judge, if I would actually like to recall my client just to address the question, if we can do that.
Okay, but I don't think we have enough time for that. So do you have any other questions for Mr. Cervantes?
You know that Rachel actually adamantly denied that she left the children alone. Is that a fair statement? The night that you thought she left them alone, she has adamantly denied that. Is that correct?
Yes, she continues to deny it, ma'am.
And in fact, she told you that she was grieving. She lost that child. She could not sleep. Is that correct?
She did say that. Yes,
And
ma'am.
she went outside finally at 3 a.m. and was cleaning out the garage, correct?
Yes, ma'am. She did say that.
And she said the car never left. It was sitting in front. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am. The car was there.
Okay. And she was, in fact, a couple of times like carrying garbage to the back, but she was back in that house within 20 minutes of when the kids called and told you she wasn't there. Is that a fair statement?
My kids texted me at 3 a.m. They texted me back at 3:45 that she was back.
All right. Are you honestly telling this court that you believe your wife would go off and leave your 2-year-old child in the middle of the night?
I do believe that because of her previous actions. Yes, ma'am.
All right, I pass the witness.
Okay, I want to go off the record for a minute, just look at some timing issues. And what else do we have? I know on the 30th, we have the hearing in the morning and. Okay. Okay, so we'll go back on the record, and Ms. Martini, since you represent the petitioner, I'll have you prepare this temporary order. Tell you what, and Mr. Ganon, when are you leaving? So we can get Ms. Martini to get something to you.
I'm leaving this Saturday. So I don't hate to put her on such a short deadline on that.
Okay. And then when are you going to be back?
I'm going to be back literally I'm coming back in December 31st, which I think everything is closed.
Yeah.
December 31st or 1st, I'll be available.
Okay. Well, I guess Ms. Martini, could you get something to Mr. Ganan by like January, 5th?
Sure.
Okay. So then why don't we have an entry on the 8th? But get a draft to him by January 5th and an entry on January 8th at 9 o'clock. I'm looking at January 8th, 2021 is a Friday. Okay. Okay. So, like I said, I think I'm just we'll call this a temporary order, but we're going to have to, I think, revisit it to fill in some of the blanks. But for now, name the parties as temporary joint managing conservators of the children. Going to have just a week on, week off possession of the children with Miss Cervantes. The exchange will be on Fridays, and Miss Cervantes, a period of possession will start January 1st at 5 o'clock. Going to have an order that Mr. Cervantes will have possession of the home, and now the children are to remain within the Sealy Independent School District, and so Ms. Cervantes is to get an apartment at that Gunnison Street Apartments or another place that she can find, and she'll need to move into that place or vacate the house by December 29th. And Mr. Cervantes is to pay initially some spousal support, $1,500, have that paid by December 29th. And then continued spousal support of $700 a month beginning February 1st. Child support of $1,500 a month beginning January 1st. And he'll keep the medical insurance on the children.
Judge, I'm sorry, can we back up? The continuing the spousal support is $750 a month beginning February 1st, correct?
February 1st. But he'll make initial payment of $1,500 by December 29th.
Okay.
And then I might have said that's the date for her to vacate, but she'll vacate by January 1st.
Well, okay. I'm sorry if I'm going to ask this. Just to repeat on the numbers because a bunch of numbers got thrown out. 700 by 1229. Is that?
Let me go back a little bit.
1,500. 1,500.
1,500 by December 29th.
Okay. 700 in spousal beginning February 1st.
February 1st. And then so she's again to vacate the house by January 1st. All right, Ms. Martini, any questions?
I don't think so. But so we'll be contacted, or we need to get back with the court about a date to. Or I'm not clear on that part, Judge.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to get again Ms. Cervantes out of the house into an apartment, get set up, see how the kids are exchanged, and then kind of revisit how things are working.
Maybe
And what
we
was
could mediate by then, Judge.
Yeah, we could potentially.
Okay, I didn't hear what anybody said.
I just said maybe we could even mediate by then.
Well, that's certainly fine. If y'all want to, do you want to agree on a mediator, or do you want me just to order a mediation?
I think we can chat about that. I think we can agree to go to mediation and work out some names between us. Is that right, Catherine? Maybe, potentially.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
What was the child support? So spousal support was 700. And what was the child support number? Was there a child support?
Yeah, child support at $1,500 a month to begin January 1st.
That's what is happening. So total, Mr. Cervantes is going. Mr. Ruben is paying $2,200 a month to Mr. Cervantes. Just so I'm getting the accuracy of that.
If that's 1,500 plus 700, then that's right.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. Anything else today? So I guess the two of you talk about a mediator, and if you can get a mediation done, by early January, that might at least resolve the temporary issues.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
It's too late now. You're their father, and you're going to pay child support for them until they're 18 years of age, sir.
So
Even if you get a DNA test and find out that they're not yours, you're still going to have to pay child support. You understand that?
We bought a DNA test like a couple of years ago. I seen
Ma'am, I don't care. I don't care about the DNA. I'm telling you, and I'm telling him, he's already been judicially found to be the father of the children. He is going to have to pay child support.